Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of Hit Reviews with your host, Arlyeon. On this week's show, I'm going to be going over another review title that I've gotten, this one being Homebear Studios Nairi, Tower of Shirin. If you haven't heard of it, it's a point-and-click adventure with a keen focus on building a narrative with a rather distinct animation style. But is it enough to make it a towering success, or will I have nary a good thing to say? Well, narrative-wise, Nairi follows the misadventures of the titular character, a young lady from the city of Shirin who finds herself robbed of, well, friends and family due to political intrigue? Probably. Really, the reason she has to go on the run is one of the driving mysteries of the narrative, but it still finds the time to introduce you to a clouder of bandits, because they're cats. A cat burglar that avoids being punny due to being a rat, and who's in fact a scholar, as well as an incredibly mouthy spy. The mouthy spy is someone different. All of this in the name of finding out answers as to why Nairi has found herself effectively exiled. It also doesn't really take her all that long to become embroiled in a plot to discover the secrets of a long-dead civilization, and how they might be able to provide salvation to the present-day world. But, one thing at a time. Cliff notes aside, I actually really enjoyed the narrative in the game. It managed to present a fairly diverse cast of likable characters, had some genuinely entertaining and fun dialogue, and provided a lot of character and world building. I'll admit, the fact that the game was written as the first part of a saga does mean that there's a lot of plot threads that are more or less left unanswered by the game's end, but the game does a fairly good job of providing a number of interesting questions. Also, if you're into yanderes, there is definitely one in there. Now, when it comes to actually playing Nairi, it's actually fairly streamlined as far as point-and-click adventures go. Character banter tends to give you hints as to what you're seeking out, and the animation style of the game is fairly adept at highlighting objects in the environment that are interactable, and it manages to avoid unnecessary pixel hunting. Instances of need to combine things in your inventory are extremely infrequent, with a number of the game's objectives being centered around finding the correct objects for a given obstacle. That said, there's a few key junctions in the game where you're tasked with exploring ruins, and there are some rather solid and enjoyable puzzles to be found there, with some legitimately challenging ones cropping up near the ending of the game. Enough so that I was actually jotting down notes on several pieces of paper scattered on my desk, so I could actually keep the solutions straight, because my memory is, well, crap. Beyond all that, there's some instances of clicking around the game does entice you to do for coins. Whilst there's a sparse few instances where they're obligatory to acquire an item to continue a quest, they are by and large optional, as I ended the game with something like 30 unused coins, and that was after finding an optional area that allowed me to waste close to 20 beyond that on just unlocking concept art. Still, if you're an achievement hunter, finding those coins will give you something to do. Now, I really enjoyed the soundtrack for Nairi, with a number of the themes being good enough that I just stopped what I was doing to listen to them. There was a lot of diversity in what it had to offer for setting the mood, and I never actually encountered a chunk of the OST that I didn't like. In the visual department, Nairi is a very distinct game, providing a vivid, colorful world that is altogether appealing to look at. Plus, the expressions of the character really did seem to be on point. Whether it's from the mischievous looks that some of the cast get, to the more world-weary bits of exhaustion that I know so well. Literally, the main character is my spirit animal every time she looks like she's done with people's shit. That there were some lightly animated scenes and characters also makes things a bit nicer to look at, and the game is quite nice about making sure the characters' names you ought to be clicking are readily identifiable. So, altogether, I really enjoyed my time with Nairi. There were moments where I did find the story a bit on the lengthy side, but there was perhaps in part because I direly want to know more about the intrigue at the core of the story. And ultimately, due to its role as the first game in an intended saga, it meant that whilst I was introduced to a lot of curious plot elements, I didn't get to see these come to fruition. Still, the characters I did get to meet, the world it represented, and the various bits of puzzle solving I got to indulge in were all enjoyable. Which is why I'd say this game is definitely a hit. And this brings this episode to an end, so I'd like to thank you folks for both tuning in and sticking till the end. Whether you agree or disagree with my thoughts, I'd love to hear from you folks in the comments. And for those interested in more indie reviews or interviews with the developers, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you can get notified when we have a new release. Lastly, join our Discord, link in the description and in the banner, so you can become a part of our community. It's cozy there. Anywho, I'll catch you on the next episode of Crit Hit. Take care till then, folks!